Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr here today for Simon Says Stamp with 3 pattern paper inlay background cards featuring components from the Simon Says Stamp March 2020 card kit called Stronger Together. We are using the stamp set from the kit, the Hello Wafer thin die, the ModaScrap Spring Flowers 6x6 pattern paper, some craft tacky glue, some cardstock, and the envelopes from the kit. So quite a few of the products from the kit in these 3 cards. I have pre-die cut the components off camera to save some time today. Now to make my inlay super easy and super flat, and I'm going to show you how that's achieved, I have cut some stickit double-sided adhesive paper to the size of my card front, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. It's a scant smaller, just barely smaller. I didn't want any overhang. And I am going to place that then on my card front. I remove the backing paper, put it on the card front, and then I am going to remove the other side. And if you have any trouble at all removing it, you can use a bone folder, you can run it through your die cutting machine. And then I'm just going to peel this up, and it was kind of sticking. I probably should have run it through my die cutting machine to make sure it was on there really good, but I'm just going to peel that off. And then I have die cut some of the pattern paper from the kit. This is the ModaScrap Spring Flowers 6x6 pattern. Using the A2 thin frames, so I trimmed the paper, the pattern, to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, and I die cut from that panel the A2 thin frame die and also the leaf branch oval. Then I die cut the oval from another pattern paper from the kit, and I am inlaying this all into the front of the card. This is all one layer, all inlaid. Now there's still going to be some, bumps or whatever, but what you do is take it and run it through your die cutting machine, flat with no dies, anything, just with your plates, and it just presses it all together so nicely, and it's nice and flat. So super, super flat then, and it's all adhered to your card front. So that's just my little tip for these backgrounds to make them nice and smooth, because then I want to stamp sentiments from the Stronger Together 6x8 stamp set right on the card. These are really quick and easy, simple cards. So if you're looking for a bunch of really easy cards to create quickly, these are definitely that. Grab your favorite dies, do a whole bunch of inlaying, and then stamp some simple sentiments, and you're done. I stamped "Hello Again, I've Missed You" on this card with clear embossing ink, and I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Antique Gold embossing powder to emboss that. So we're going to set that one aside. I'm going to create one more card on camera. Keep in mind, this one and the blue background created exactly the same. I'm just using different dies. I just didn't think you wanted to see it multiple times in a row. So just different options. I'll show you those at the end of the video in real time so you can see a little bit closer up look at those. This one, again, all 3 cards feature that A2 thin frames, and we're going to discard the pattern frame, and then we're inlaying some MAJESTIC gold tonic paper in there instead. And then I'm using purple pattern papers with this, and that's the daisy square. Now I didn't think the daisy square stood out, and I don't think the last one stands out quite as much either. So I am going to do the same thing where I place my stickit adhesive paper on my card front. I'm going to inlay all these components, but then I'm going to go back and die cut 2 more of the daisy frame from the purplish solid, more solid watercolor background, whatever you want to call it, pattern paper. And we're going to layer those on top of each other to give that purple background a little bit more dimension and make that purple flower stand out a little more. If you want it to stand out even more, there is some lavender cardstock in the kit, and you could replace the pattern paper with that if you wanted to. So I have my frame. I have my little gold frame that I'm inlaying here, and I'm just working really nice and slow. We've got the inside panel, And I promise when you run this through your spellbinders or your die cutting machine, it's going to really flatten it all and secure it all super well. So then we're going to replace our little purple frame. Then we're going to take our pattern paper. I think another way, if you wanted to completely keep this flat, I might have die cut the daisy square from the Majestic Gold and replace that background around the flower with gold instead. And that would have made that stand out just a little bit more too. So I'm running it through my die cutting machine to get it nice and smooth. Oh my gosh, looks so good. And now it's attached really, really well. And I want to play around with the other components. So I'm going to use that Hello Wafer Thin die from the kit, and then I'm going to stamp my sentiments. So we're going to combine die cut and stamped sentiments for the next two cards. I'm going to stamp my sentiment with clear embossing ink. I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Clear Embossing ink. And then we will heat set this again with the Antique Gold, which really works nicely with that beautiful Majestic Gold cardstock that we've used for the inlay frame. Just kind of tying it all together. So I am inking up my sentiment. We're going to stamp that right on the pattern paper. I did ink up my sentiment twice, and just to make sure that the larger part of the sentiment was really covered well with ink so that I could just emboss one time. And there's that beautiful Antique Gold embossing powder. Also, in addition to die cutting the daisy frame 2 more times and gluing those one on top of another right here, I have die cut the Hello 2 more times. We're going to glue those one on top of another and place those right there on the frame, and you're going to see that here in a little bit. So I'm using the Craft Tacky Glue that comes in the kit this month, liquid adhesive to glue these in place, and carefully just popping these there to add a tiny bit of dimension. So where the first card really has no additional dimension, this one is going to have that added dimension over the inlay background. And it's going to make our element just stand out a little bit more. On the first card, it wasn't as big of a deal, but on the remaining two, it's a little bit smaller, and I wanted to make sure that it really popped. Just takes a little bit extra effort. I'm going to grab some acrylic blocks and pop them on top to help hold it down and hold it flat until everything completely dries. I'm trying to add just a tiny bit of glue, not too much excess, on the back of this. And you can see with the addition of these 2 frames, look at how much more bold that flower is. So let's just pop our acrylic blocks in place while we glue the hellos one on top of another. Again, I'm going to use the Simon Says Stamped Craft Tacky Glue to do this. And that's going to make our hello a little bit bolder as well. And we'll add one more, and then we're going to pop that right there along the bottom edge of the daisy frame, and then put our acrylic blocks on top to help hold it down. The final thing that I did for all 3 cards is take a little white heart embellishment and add it somewhere. So on the flower, it's going to be in the center. On the first card we created, it's going to be down below, and then on the blue frame, it's going to be on one of the leaves. And you're going to see those here in just a minute when I go back over all 3 cards. These were created in less than an hour. So if you're looking for some super quick and easy cards to have on hand, this is a great way to do that with the March 2020 Simon Says Stamp Kit. So here is the purple card with that daisy. So pretty. I love those purples. Here is the blue version. I didn't show on camera, but very similar to the daisy design. It says call me or text me, whatever. And then hello again is the first card we created with that leaf oval. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these 3 cards featuring the Simon Says Stamp March 2020 card kit Stronger Together. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Simon Says stamps and dies that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel so you never miss a new card making video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.